Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about the top 10 reasons for failing the driving test. In this video, I'll be going over 10 reasons why people commonly fail their driving test. Now let's get right into it. The first reason why people fail their driving test is improper use of signals. Now you should be using your turn signal whenever you are changing the direction of your vehicle. That's the easiest way to explain it. Now sometimes people don't signal at all. Sometimes people signal too early. Sometimes people signal too late. Those are the three main reasons, the three main breakdowns for this reason of failing the driving test. So make sure that you do indeed, in fact, use your signals all the time. Every single time that you're changing the direction of your car, make sure that you're doing it at a good time, which is not too early and not too late. And you should be good for sort of going through and getting over this first reason for failing the driving test. The second reason why people fail their driving test is incorrect positioning. Now, your car should be in the relatively center of the lane, okay? It doesn't have to be perfectly center, but it should be relatively in the center of the lane. Now, some people stay too much to the left, other people stay too much to the right. And if you're driving this far away from the curb to your right, obviously the driving examiner is going to dock some points, and it might even potentially cause you to fail when you combine it with other errors. Also, if you're driving really close to the car beside you to the left, it can be the exact same situation, but on the other side. You have to remember one thing. Your driver's seat is positioned slightly off center. So I drive in this car, it's to the left of the center of the car. So I have to remember that my body, if I want to be in the center of the lane, my body is going to be slightly to the left of the center of the lane, because that's the position of the driver's seat. On the other hand, if you're driving in a car that has a driver's seat to the right of the center, then your body is going to be slightly to the right of the center of the lane. That's the easiest way to make sure that you stay centered and keep the correct positioning. The third reason why people fail their driving test is following too closely. Now, you know, there are different rules of thumb for following distances depending on the speed that you're driving, depending on where you live and so forth. I will say one thing. Research whatever is the common following distance for wherever you live and alter it or vary it, increase it if the road conditions get worse. Meaning, let's say your rule of thumb is 3 seconds. Your following distance is 3 seconds between your car and the car in front of you. If it is snowing, then guess what? The proper following distance is no longer 3 seconds. It's now closer to 4 or 5 seconds. If it's foggy, it's 4 seconds, and so forth. So remember that as the road conditions worsen and the driving conditions worsen, you have to increase that following distance to make sure that you don't lose points and potentially fail for following too closely. The fourth reason why people fail their driving test is lack of steering control. Now, your turns and your steering should be super smooth. The best way that you get to this level of having very smooth steering is practice. The more that you get on the road, the more that you practice, the smoother that your turns will be, the smoother that your lane changes will be. When you make your turns, the driving examiner should not be thrown left and right, and the same thing goes with lane changes. Your turns, lane changes, any version of your steering, 3-point turns, U-turns, absolutely anything should be smooth. And if they're not smooth, then in my opinion, you should practice a lot before you actually take the driving test. All right. Reason number 5 why people fail their driving test is inappropriate speed. If the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour on the road that you're driving it on, okay, you should be driving anywhere between 47 and 50 kilometers an hour, and you should be able to maintain that speed, okay? Now, once again, the best way to improve that is with practice. The more that you practice driving, the more experience that you get on the road, the better that you'll be at speed control and maintaining the appropriate speed. Now, with that being said, you know, you can read as much driving theory as you want, and I recommend reading driving theory, but reading driving theory is not really going to help you with the actual control of your gas pedal. So you have to make sure that you are practicing on the road. That's the best way to actually maintain your speed and gain that speed control that you need to not fail for inappropriate speed. The sixth reason why people fail their driving test is lack of turning control. Now, when you're turning, okay, so lack of steering control was about smooth turns, but lack of turning control is being able to actually control the actual curvature of the turn. If you're turning your car, okay, if you're making a right-hand turn, you should be able to turn the steering wheel and basically hold it in position throughout the turn and then release it. You shouldn't be adjusting as you're turning, because that's lack of turning control. That's going to cause you to lose points and potentially fail the driving test, okay? Now, some of these things will cause you to directly fail the driving test. Others will cause you to indirectly, meaning they're going to cause you to lose points, and they're going to change the way the driving examiner thinks about your driving, and eventually you might fail because of the culmination of these things together. Number 7, the seventh reason why people commonly fail their driving test is reverse parking. Now, in my opinion, reverse parking is actually one of the easier things to learn how to do when you're learning how to drive, but because you're moving backwards and the steering is sort of almost like opposite to a certain degree of driving forward when you think about it, you know, it causes people to be uncertain about their reverse parking skills. What I can say is, once again, practice makes perfect. If you struggle with reverse parking and you're going to take your driving test soon, reverse park 150 times in an empty parking lot. And I can almost guarantee you that by the time that you've done those 150 reverse parks, you're going to be much better than the first time when you first started, the first one that you did. So practice makes perfect. The 8th reason why people commonly fail their driving test is parallel parking. Now, parallel parking is one of the hardest things to learn how to do as a beginner driver, just because, you know, you're steering one way, then you're steering the other way, and it really throws you off because you're putting your car between these two cars in this space that's relatively tight. There's usually not much space in a parallel parking spot for error, and you want to get as close to the curb as possible, but you also don't want to get too close and actually hit the curb or touch the curb. But like I said, practice makes perfect. Number 9 is improper stopping. Now, some people don't even come to a complete stop, so it's important to come to a full stop. But once you've come to a full stop, let's say you're at a 4-way intersection right here. Once you've come to a full stop, I always recommend doing this path of vision. Left, center, right, left. Meaning once you've come to a full stop, look left, center, right, left. If it's safe to proceed, go ahead and proceed. Now also, you should know who has the right of way when you come to a complete stop. It's very important because you don't want to be guessing on the driving test. You want to know if you have the right of way, then make sure you take that right of way as long as it's safe to do so. But if someone else has the right of way, then you want to make sure to give them the right of way. All right, last but not least, number 10 is improper use of mirrors. So first and foremost, you should be checking your mirrors regularly as you're driving, okay? So that means when you're doing your driving test, you should be constantly just scanning your mirrors, constantly scanning them. Now, how often? It all depends on your regulations of where you're taking your driving test. Some people recommend as often as like 8 seconds, every 8 seconds. Other people recommend as often or as infrequently as every 30 seconds or every 40 seconds. So check with your local regulations and figure out what works for you. And if you're ever in doubt, in my opinion, it's always better to check more frequently if you're uncertain. Like if you think you're not sure if every 30 seconds is gonna work, then check every 15 seconds, okay? So, also, when you look at your mirrors, don't just look at them to look at them. Make sure that you know exactly what you're looking for and where to look within the mirror. And that's basically it. In this video, I've gone over the top 10 reasons for failing the driving test. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. What are some other common reasons why people fail their driving test? Let me know down below as a comment, and of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.